All right, we're back for a little recap of our Piatt picks. That's Miguel Ederati. I'm Anthony Scott Piatt. Hey, we got right back on the horse with our Bet US 8-leg lock parlays. We had missed one pick last week, and so now we're back and we're 7-1 after hitting all 8 this week. I want to point out to you that 2 of those were 9-leg parlays over the last 8 weeks since we restarted our show. So that actually makes us 57-1 on our individual lock picks. We bundled those together for usually an 8-leg to make ourselves about $85 on a $100 bet. So please sign up, Bet US. The code is PIATT, my last name, and we're going to do another one of those. Last week, that's all we did. We didn't call a lot. We made this pick, and we made a little something on Lee Wood going the distance as a bonus. But that's really it, folks. These locks are truly locks. We appreciate you on them. Bet US. Let's go.
But let's go ahead and take us through the picks.
Oh, absolutely.
So, that's what it's all about too. I think something like this. You kind of concentrate on, all right, Saturday's Boxing Day, and you're watching the events from England, and you just kind of sit and watch boxing all day and have fun with it.
It was great, and really, this is a strange one, Miguel, because there weren't a lot of marquee fights for us to do a full wage rage early in the week and a bigger Piatt picks. But there was at one point early in the day where I had 2 boxing events going on the zone at once. And later in the evening, it didn't take long, you had 3 more events that were all on simultaneous, a little bit of overlap. So there was 4 events total. There was a lot of boxing. There was a lot of good boxing. There wasn't the marquee names necessarily, but the rematch, again, not on our lock, but the rematch with Lee Wood to go the distance we mentioned was, I think, plus 350. And so if you followed along with that, that was our 9th pick of the week. The other 8, let's go over right now. This was our Bet US lock. Karis Artenstall, we've talked about quite a bit. Handily won. Campbell Hatton. Jack Catterall, who many think beat Josh Taylor, handled Darrow Foley. I apologize on the name. Terry Harper, again, Cecilia Brakus had the flu just last week. Terry Harper, Ivana Habazin. It was a pretty good little fight. Terry won easily. Nick Ball, I want to shout out to Sonny Edwards, who mentioned that Ludumo Lamati had a really good trainer and was going to give Nick Ball some trouble. And honestly, for about 3 rounds he did, and I see why Sonny thought he might give him some trouble. He didn't say he would win, he said he'd trouble him, so great call by Sonny. Nick Ball pulls it out. Our only close one at all was John Scrappy Ramirez. It was a nice little fight against Fernando Diaz. I felt Scrappy won handily. One of the judges disagreed. It was a split decision. 2 of the cards were fairly wide for Ramirez. I think 116, 112, something to that effect. But one was a 1 round for Diaz. So that was officially our closest. But all wins. Oscar Duarte easily handled D'Angelo Keys. But I want to show some love to Keys. He's very tactical. Lesser fighters would have been knocked out by Duarte. And, I think Keys is going to show some things when he fights other people that he's really got a good ring IQ. Duarte's just a beast. And speaking of beasts, we finished the night off with Alexis Rocha going after Anthony Young. Young had a nice upset win against Sadiq Ali, I believe, last year. Came in pretty confident. Rocha is a quiet confidence. I mean, he just goes about his business and does what he needs to do and breaks him down. A lot of shots under the left elbow, a lot of body work. Really, I got to say, Alexis Rocha is something to behold. I don't know what his I don't know where his limit is yet. I'm not saying he's the best, but we need to see him against some more people. Alexis Rocha here, Miguel. Wow, what a performance to finish off our Bet US lock. And this one was for $71, 100 into 71. This was our comeback, or this was our start. Again, 57-1 on the lock picks, which makes 7-1 when you bundle them. but even I don't even like that one. I'm looking at you, Gary Cully, some bitch.
Yeah, and as we wrap up here, head out to BetUS, use Anthony's last name as your code, and sign up, because that's really the only place you're going to be able to find, consistently week in, week out, enough fights to choose from that you can put together an 8-fight parlay. It really is. There isn't another site out there, and if you're into this sort of thing, we're creeping up. The banks. It might be a good Christmas at the Piatt household.
That's right. That's right. You're absolutely right too, Miguel. I would say out of those 58 fights, 25, maybe 30 were exclusive to BetUS versus, the apps more people are familiar with and that I use as well. But yeah, as we say, usually 4 out of our 8, maybe 2, maybe 6, but average of about 4 out of our 8 are only available on BetUS. And again, these 8 are not the 8 out of 9 or whatnot. These are 8 out of 25 or 30 fights that BetUS offers me. And I can go through and we can fade odds we don't believe. We can fade guys that have overperformed in the past fighting a favorite. Well, let's avoid that guy. What's really interesting about these and what some of the picks I'm most proud of are the ones you never see, because they're the ones I left off where an upset happened. And it'd be almost kind of fun to show those sometimes. Hey, this is the one we're avoiding. Maybe I can add one extra pick. We're avoiding this one on purpose, and then see how many times that upset happened. Because that's really what these picks are about. BetUS gives us so many choices, and it's up to me and your advice and the research and the math, and it's up to us to get it to avoid those losses, Gary.
Yeah,
Collie.
I like it. I like what you put together here, and the proof is in the pudding. You can hit like and subscribe if you want to check over these parlays. They're available on the Piatt Picks and Wagering channel on YouTube. You can check them out as we've been doing. It's been very impressive to check, week in and then come back and see the results and work with you on it, because you always hear, good, he's got good success rate and stuff like that. But 57-1 is beyond a good success rate.
Appreciate you.
Some of those you need, 57-1 at the level of boxing that you're betting on there, which is more hardcore boxing. Not everybody's going to know Gary Cully. These are the guys who are looking at this stuff are either guys that are just going to gamble on anything or are the real boxing heads.
That's right.
So, I think that's what makes it interesting, because 57-1 at that level, where, in a rematch, both guys are taking a risk, especially an immediate rematch like that. You could have the numbers from the first one, the numbers from the second one are drastic. What do? You don't include that in a lock bet. You leave that off to the side. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if you did put, one of those underdogs that you suspected might win into that, your parlay shoots way up. But that's a lot riskier. So it depends on your gut feeling, how you gamble.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that's where we'll put a lot of our, round robins, things that are a little bit more in depth. Those we sometimes mention on here. But also those are nice to be able to see sometimes. So we'll write those down. At a place like Sharps that we've mentioned before. We'll come out with some more prop bets and whatnot. But yeah, our bread and butter is the 8-leg lock, and that's something we want to bring every week, even when we don't bring you anything else like last week. I mean, we mentioned, Lee Wood going the distance was great money, and that's the add-on, that's the bonus pick, but not part of the lock. As you say, couldn't put it on lock, but it did hit. Lee Wood did survive Mauricio Lara, who came in 4 pounds overweight, by the way. Just a note on that. Here he is, champion. After beating Lee Wood a few months ago, he comes in 4 pounds overweight. So the title is unavailable to go back home with Lara. Only Wood can win it. Now I thought maybe, okay, he didn't bother cutting the weight. He's moving up a weight. He just wants to knock Wood out and move up for a big money fight or something. But the truth of it is, Miguel, he looked really lethargic. Lara did not have the speed or the energy. So he must have truly tried to make weight and probably got down to within about 2 pounds and felt like hell. and probably said screw it, and had some water or food to make him feel better, knowing that, surely he didn't really only get 4 pounds away and still was drained. That's how often does that happen?
I could tell you this. Depending on how you analyze it, that understanding that, especially right before the fight, that's a real good indication that Lara didn't expect to win that first one. I just psychologically, I think, he won the first one, but maybe he was not doing so well. He was the underdog on it. He won it, he got the belt, and he didn't take the belt thing seriously. Either there's something wrong, or he knew he was in over his head already and decided to check out and go back to, the other level of boxing. I'm not sure exactly if that's a good analysis, but on the day of the fight, it would certainly play into it looking like this is not going to be a repeat.
Well, you say analysis, but to an extent, it's a prediction as well. And what happens with his career in the future may tell us that. They may come out and tell us he had some issue. He had some family issue. He had some health issue. There may be something that comes out over the next few months, or it may take a couple of years to just see that whatever he had in that fight and previous is now gone. Maybe he's not going to be the same. But I think what you're saying is, you're analyzing what we've seen so far, but a lot of this won't be told until we see what happens. And then we can come back and sort of...
You'll know the guy's blown away.
Yeah.
And there'll be some buzz about it, And some of these boxing heads, hopefully, that are maybe going to pick up on Piatt. I'm talking about boxing heads that look at me and Anthony, and we're both about average, about 50. I think he's a little under, I'm a little over, right? I'm talking about old guys. We're old guys, right? I'm talking about old guys. Like, they'll call up and they'll ask somebody at the weigh-ins, hey, what's it look like? What's the scoop? What's the deal? There is a good network of that type of communications. Hey, the fight's going down in Detroit. Hey, I got some people in Detroit. I know that. That's what this part of the game is about. And I think, what you do real well is that you've got a little network of people that hey, I've gotten good inside information already on this guy, and you've got some of that, and I think that's a big plus. And
including you, man, you've brought a lot of tidbits over the years. Again, folks, we've done this together, Miguel and I, since 2016. Yeah, this is a new show, relaunched a couple months ago, but we've been doing this. We've been talking about it. We've been networking. Miguel, many years longer than I have, having, run promotions and made fights, managed, judged, boxing, MMA, all of that. But between the two of us, I'm pretty proud of what we can bring, with a little bit of that insight and beyond insight, but insider information. We're not talking about, insider trading on stocks here, folks. We're talking about, weigh-ins that are public that people can see, and a guy doesn't look right, and you can see if you happen to know his manager's talking, I don't feel good about my boy today. By God, we're going to bring that information to you if we happen to overhear it or a friend of ours overhears it.
Yeah, that's the thing is boxing at this level where you're watching guys that are not on prime time. You know what I mean? You're enjoying the sport more so than that you're a huge, you're a fan of the guy you bet. But it's not like you have a lifelong of like, oh, I love watching this guy fight. These guys are more, but this is your weekly fare. This is what we thrive on,
That's it.
So at this level, I think that becomes much more important. With Canelo, you're going to be so flooded with information unless you really know somebody, right? But with a big fight, you're going to be so flooded with information. It's hard. There's not that flood of information on these smaller ones. You can maybe pinpoint good information, And the weigh-ins are, live weigh-ins. If you're betting a fight and you can get to the weigh-ins, it's almost more important than the fight.
Oh, it's absolutely right. And that's why sometimes when we make our calls early in the week, where I think weigh-ins will be a factor, I really encourage people to check back with, with what I might say on Sharps or Twitter or some of the others where we do follow up. And if it's real important, we'll do a follow-up show and blast it out to you. But I try and mention, as we did with some other fights, after the weigh-in, more bets will be placed. So it is crucially important when guys are coming down a couple weight classes, been having trouble, things of that nature. Those things really matter. And if a guy misses weight and it takes him 2 or 3 attempts of climbing up on that scale, and so now he's staying dehydrated and malnourished for 3 hours longer than he hoped to, before he can start rehydrating. So there's a lot of issues in that, and there's a lot of strength that can be sapped that we need to know about. So great insight, Miguel, and that is absolutely crucial information.